This is my UFC 304 Manchester recap. So we'll get straight into it. We're going to start with Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. All right, so this fight, it wasn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be. I thought Arnold would have a lot more luck closing the distance and landing on Giga. Giga did really well, circling, keeping out of Allen's range, avoiding the big overhands and hooks that were coming his way. Giga worked a lot with his front kicks. He used his feints to keep Allen away. Allen couldn't really duck down, tuck his chin and start swinging because he was worried about a front kick up the middle, which Giga actually landed on his face at one point. Some pretty big moments in the fight. End of round one, Giga nearly landed a huge flying knee on Allen and it literally just went up his face. No cuts or anything, but that would have been a fight ender if it landed. Allen then returned with his own front kick to the face to Giga. Sort of big moment, big cheer at the end of round one. Round 2 and 3 both looked very similar. There wasn't really any ground game. It was all just Arnold Allen chasing down Giga, trying to cut off the cage. Listen, when Allen was landing, he was landing very well. You could hear the impact of the punches properly. But Giga was just sort of landing more frequently on the outside and just chipping away. I was quite nervous by the time they got to the decision. But yeah, I think Allen just did more based off of damage and he looked better on the judges' scorecards for sure, just marching forward. Whereas Giga, by the end of round 3, he was basically running away from Arnold, just trying to get away from the punches. But yeah, good fight for Arnold Allen. Went pretty much exactly how I predicted. Arnold Allen by unanimous decision. I was sort of hoping for a TKO, but Giga was just too fast and too good at circling. So yeah. All right, on to Leroy Duncan versus Gregory Rodriguez. So this fight also went very similar to how I predicted. Gregory was getting the better on the feet. He was putting the pressure on Leroy Duncan. Start of round 1, Leroy did all right. Leroy Duncan did all right, keeping Rodriguez at bay. He was actually landing. They were sort of exchanging, going 1-for-1 a little bit, but Gregory just had more pop on his shots. Rodriguez also implemented a heavier grappling game plan than I thought he was going to. He is a jiu-jitsu black belt, but all 5 of his last fights have been KOs, and with 4 of them being wins. So sort of represents his most recent fighting style, but he fought smarter. He tired out Duncan, dragged him to the ground, landed some good clinch strikes, and by the end of round 1, Duncan had a huge lump on the side of his head. Listen, yeah, it was a good fight, but in round 2, Leroy actually initiated the clinch up against the cage and was trying to win that battle. I guess he was trying to tire out Rodriguez this time. Rodriguez eventually reversed the position, tried getting a couple trips down, but Duncan would just pop right back up. Like every single takedown Rodriguez was going for, Duncan would just get right back up, like pretty easily. Round 3, Rodriguez came out hard with the pressure, really swinging for Duncan. Duncan clinched up, but still got taken down. Continued just to pop back up. Exchanged more on the feet. Rodriguez, I was really hoping for a KO by Rodriguez. One of my mates had money on by KO, and there was a few times throughout the fight where Rodriguez had him hurt, but just didn't commit to the finish because Duncan is just dangerous on the feet still and is good at hitting people when they're closing the distance. So I think overall, really good game plan by Rodriguez. He should be happy with that win. Won convincingly, all 3 rounds for sure. So yeah, good performance by Rodriguez, and I'll be definitely keen to watch his next fight. So we'll see how his career progresses. He is young. I think he's only 30. So he looks like he's way older. He looks like he's as old as Glover Teixeira. But yeah, I don't know what it is. Probably the steroid. All right, now we've got Green versus Paddy Pimblett. I'm not going to call him Bobby nor King. I'm just going to call him Green. All right, so now we've got Green versus Paddy Pimblett. This fight went exactly how I predicted. Paddy Pimblett, as soon as they hit the ground, he was going for submissions. Listen, he did much better on the feet than I thought he was going to. So that's one thing we can give him credit for. Every single shot that Bobby came in with, Paddy had an answer for. He was quick with his hands, and he was just... He obviously stung Bobby enough and made Bobby unsure of himself enough to actually shoot for a takedown on Paddy. When Bobby shot for the takedown, Paddy snatched up a guillotine. It was close, but Bobby got out. Paddy transitioned to a triangle choke, moved around, literally did everything he needed to do. He grabbed his foot, he angled off, he hooked Bobby's leg and sort of rotated Bobby to get the angle better. I think by the time he rotated and had the angle, Bobby was already out, but we couldn't really tell with the way he was laying. Paddy then transitioned to an armbar, and Bobby was this close to getting his arm snapped. There's a picture on the internet somewhere of the extension of Bobby's arm, and if the ref hadn't jumped in there, it could have been real bad for Bobby. But really impressive performance by Paddy. Shows that he can compete with some of the veterans, some of the battle-tested fighters in the game. Paddy versus Moicano would be really good after Moicano versus Benoit Saint Denis. If Renato gets past BSD, that'd be a good fight. Alternatively, listen, I'm not sure how long Fiziev has got left off, but Paddy versus Fiziev could be decent. Paddy's grappling game could be a clear pathway to victory for Fiziev. But yeah, for Paddy, very bright future. Unfraud checked himself after that Jared Gordon fight. He's done really well. Impressive. Very glad that I got that pick right. And yeah, well done, Paddy. Good submission skills, mate. All right. Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blades. Now, this fight was so exciting. It had my blood pumping right from the get-go. I knew it wasn't going to last long. It was probably going to be 2 rounds tops. That's what I had in my prediction. But, mate, Tom Aspinall didn't even need a minute. He's cutting down his average fight time every single time he fights, which is so impressive for him to have such a record like that. Listen, Curtis did have me a bit nervous. He had a very fast 1-2, and his range, he looked like he had longer reach than Tom. And that 1-2 was surprising me, and it looked very close to landing on Tom a couple times. I thought it did. I don't know if it was just the commentary that said that it did when it didn't. Tom didn't really react too much, but Tom dropped Curtis with a power jab and then followed him to the ground and put him out with ground and pound shots. Lots of people are calling for an early stoppage, but listen, Tom was landing about 3 punches a second to the side of Curtis's head, flattened out on his back. Kurt wasn't getting up from there. I think it was a fair stoppage. Like, people who had money on Blades for sure could argue that it was early because Blades wasn't out. But as anyone who's watched the UFC for long enough, we all know that refs stop heavyweight fights generally earlier than lighter weight classes because it can be so catastrophic if the fight goes too long, and they can be knocked out real bad, especially when you're on the back of someone punching on the back and the side of their head. So listen, the ref did a good job then. Tom might have rushed the punches and sort of milked the finish and didn't really try to put Curtis out cold. But listen, I can't really argue with that stoppage. I'm glad he got it done. Only needed a minute to knock him out. Now, Tom needs to fight John Jones. There is no reason for him not to be the true heavyweight champion right now. At least Dana White confirmed that Tom will be the backup fighter for Jones versus Stipe, and confirmed that he will fight the winner. However, there is nothing stopping John Jones or Stipe from just retiring after this next fight, and there's nothing Dana can really do either. I think they need to strip John Jones. This Jones and Stipe fight shouldn't be for the belt. That should be for the interim title, right? Aspinall's just defended his interim title, which is the second time in heavyweight history other than Andrei Arlovsky, who also defended his heavyweight interim title. But I just don't... Izzy and Volk both called for the Jones versus Aspinall fight. Why is the UFC protecting an abuser of women, cocaine and PEDs over Tom Aspinall, who is such a role model for so many young fighters? The way he conducts himself, the way he speaks to fans, to the media. Tom is a star role model for the UFC and should be the front of the UFC. I don't see why they want John Jones. I don't know what John Jones has got on them, because they've never protected a UFC fighter like this again. But I don't want to go down this again. Really good fight by Tom. He deserves to fight Jones. Jones will be remembered as ducking Tom Aspinall forever now. We haven't heard a peep out of Jones, but for sure we would have heard a fucking orchestra out of him if he lost to Curtis. Literally, Tom saved the card John had to pull out of. On 17 days' notice, he took a fight against Sergey Pavlovich, the boogeyman at the time of the division. And he saved the card that John Jones almost ruined by pulling out of. Tom is a company man. Jones isn't. Why are they protecting John Jones? Good work, Tom Aspinall. Knock out everyone else until you have to knock out John Jones. You're going to do it. You will be the heavyweight GOAT. So stick at what you're doing right now. You're doing good. You got all the fan support. It's just the UFC wigging out. So good job, Tom. All right, so the main event, Edwards versus Muhammad. Listen, the result was incredibly surprising for me. I really thought Edwards was just going to outclass Belal on all fronts. But Belal, he came out, he's somehow doubled his muscle mass. He just overpowered Leon, came out, dumped Leon in his head, literally just closed the distance, backed up Leon against the cage, got Leon to get his hands up and just shot for doubles, locked his hands and dumped him. He did that several times throughout the fight. The fight couldn't be based on damage at all because no one did damage to each other. It was fucking atrocious. It was literally a battle for position the entire fight. I feel so bad for all the UK fans who stayed awake until 5 o'clock in the morning just to be put to sleep. But what can you expect? You bought tickets to a Leon Edwards versus Belal fight. I don't know how on earth I got myself excited for it. I guess I just convinced myself that Leon would knock out Belal. Listen, Belal, he used his strength and pressure to just completely neutralize Leon's offense. Leon couldn't get going. Belal's pressure was too much. He couldn't really set up any of his strikes. But Leon also threw away rounds. He'd been controlled for 90% of the round on the feet, and then Belal had the dominant position on him for most of the round. Leon got out of that position, got onto Belal's back up against the cage, and didn't do anything. He had 30 seconds to do some damage and try to win the round because no damage had been done in the round. He could have done anything. He could have hit him with a knee on the way back up, swung hooks. There's so much he could have done. He could have even just tried to break and land ground and pound. He did nothing. He held back position for 30 seconds trying to win a round. You're not going to win a round. You've already lost on position for 90% of the fight. If Leon did what he did in round 5, in that round earlier on, he could have won that round, and henceforth he would have won the fight. He could have won the fight if he postured up and landed some shots on Belal and stole that round at the end. He could have won. This happened frequently throughout the fight. It was just a battle for whoever got back control first and then would just ride the round out. Leon demonstrated better ability at getting up than Belal did. When Leon got Belal's back, he stayed there until the round was over, whereas Belal would often lose control of Leon, and Leon would get to the position towards the end of the round when it's too late for anything to happen. So, incredibly frustrating fight to watch. Not keen to watch Belal's title reign. I think he should fight Shavkat next. I think Shavkat deserves it. The welterweight division deserves a champion who can finish people. And going from Leon Edwards to Belal must be awful for Dana White. If you watched Dana White put the belt on Belal, I don't think I've ever seen him more disappointed. He ruined Bruce Buffer's announcement of Belal becoming champ by literally just walking up and trying to get it over with. He just wanted to put Belal's belt on and get the fuck out of that arena. I don't blame him, to be honest. But still, listen, it was a good performance by Belal. Don't want to take too much away from him. I just don't know where all this strength came from suddenly. I don't know. His head looks like it's gotten bigger. He had veins down the side of his torso. I don't know. His new workout routine just must be working miracles for him right now. Must have switched to steak and eggs or something. I don't know. Whatever he's doing, it must be working. So, listen, I think Leon doesn't deserve an immediate rematch. That was a pretty clear win for Belal. Leon could fight Ian Gary. I wouldn't be mad about that. And I think, he could fight Ian Gary. JDM and Shavkat are both there for the title next. I think JDM could even fight Leon as well. That is if JDM and Shavkat don't end up fighting each other. To be fair, I'd rather them not fight each other, and I'd rather that fight wait until it's for a belt. I think JDM and Shavkat both beat Edwards. I think JDM's pressure on the feet will get it done. Shavkat would be able to finish Leon within 5 rounds. By submission, by KO, either or, I think he's going to get it done. After seeing the way Belal did it, I don't know what happened to Leon, really. It was a pretty disappointing fight all round, but yeah, good feature fights and good co-main event, but this main event was a bit of a letdown. But yeah, I'm keen for the first champion ever to fight on the prelims, so keep an eye out on upcoming prelims for Belal's name to pop up. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. That was my recap. I'll be coming out with a couple more videos this week, probably talking about next fights for Leon, for Tom, and so forth. But yeah, appreciate you guys watching. Have a good one.